Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. So, I don't know if you knew this or not, but last Saturday we had a live stream uh, to study velocity banking, right? So, it's a real life case study. So, the spreadsheet you're looking at is actually someone's numbers that they'd sent through email. And this person had $5,400 of income, $5,400 expenses, and only $4.10 left over in savings in every single month. And you know what blew my mind? This person has 22 debts. If you count this all up, this is 22 debts, and I had my mind blown away by this. I was like, oh my goodness, because this is the prime unicorn example of what we call segregation of income. And I don't know if you remember this in elementary school, but I remember when I was a kid, they said segregation was bad. But guess what? It applies to your income as well. So if you take a look here, right, we had a live stream for members. It was called 22 Debt Elimination Real Life Velocity Banking Case Live Stream Study or Study Live Stream. And if you click the join button, right, it's only 99 cents. That's what our live streams are for people who are serious, who want to learn just once a month, but something low cost, right? And we kind of saw how we could apply velocity banking so we can create cash flow without necessarily having to make more money, right? And at the end of the live stream, take a look at this. Somebody wrote here, this was a masterpiece, right? At the end of the live stream, I was like, whoa, I was blown away. So again, these are not my words, these are somebody else's. So I'm just telling you what other people have written regarding just this live stream right here. So if you want to access it, only 99 cents. Now, for the purposes of today's video, right, we're going to go over something much more simpler, but it's still related to the topic, right? So basically, let's say you're making income and you have $9,000 of income and $9,000 of expenses, right? And you have absolutely no savings. So this is what velocity banking is for, because usually the reason why you don't have more savings as you have more income is you could take on too much debt. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, oh, $9,000 of income, that's not realistic. That's not the point of this, right? The point of this is that this is what we call an extreme financial stress test. And that's what you want to do with different strategies is that, if you test different financial strategies at lower levels of income, you're not going to be able to see the results compared to higher levels of income, right? So that's why we always test with higher levels of income, because if we have $1,000 of income and $1,000 of expense and no savings, you don't really get to see the difference compared to this month. So that's why we use this higher level income for demonstrations. And number two, if you don't make income, nobody will lend you debt, right? Debt is for people who have income. There's a saying that banks don't lend money to people who need it, and the only exception to this, right, is the student loan. I get there's those other types of loans, paydays. I'm just talking about banks in general, right? Banks in general don't lend money to people who need it. And so when people are, I see in the search results, oh, velocity banking for low income people. Low income is a different problem than what velocity banking is trying to tackle, which is cash flow and debt management. That's what we're here for today. Okay, so $9,000 of income, $9,000 of savings, of expenses, and zero savings. What do you do, right? And so we have, again, I always love this 10 credit card example. I did modify it for the purposes of this video, but again, what do we do when we have zero savings, right? And we always talk about the two requirements to doing velocity banking. Number one is a budget. Number two, it's a line of credit as your main operating account. And so here's the other thing too. People are all like, "Oh my goodness, like who has a line of credit laying around?" And most people don't, because, they always try to get credit when they need it, right? So if you take a look here, I got well, I got pictures of AI generated Macaulay Culkin and Macaulay Culkin right here. Uh, but I got a $15,000 personal line of credit laying around, because the secret to getting credit is you get it before you need it, because banks don't lend money to people who need it. I know it's crazy, right? Because people don't think like this. You know what they want to do with their finances, metaphorically? They want to learn how to drive the car after they've crashed it. That's what people want to do with their finances. You try to teach people like, hey, this is how you manage your finances when they're 18, 19, none of them are ever going to learn. They're like, I know it all, right? And then once they become 30, 40, 50, it's like, oh my goodness, what happened? I crashed a car. Now I think I should learn how to drive when it comes to their finances, right? And so this is why it's really important to learn this before you ever even start tackling on debt. And I actually learned velocity banking for 3 years before I even could handle debt. And then, I don't know what happened, but 3 years later, mortgage paid off, right? So, results not typical. I'm not saying it happened to you. I'm just saying that that's what happened to me. All right. So now let's assume that we have a $200,000 line of credit available. So what is a line of credit? All it is a financial tool where you could borrow money, pay back, and use it over and over again, right? And so here's the thing. If you're the average American, okay, and let's say you had a free and clear line of credit available. Think of this as like a credit card based on the value of your home. It's actually called home equity line of credit, right? I'm not going to go too much in details into it, but if you had a home equity line of credit, you could almost get like a huge credit card that could pay anything, including your home equity lines of credit bills. So, but the thing is that people don't know how to use it correctly, because what are the three key main words with our line of credit? It's that it's our main operating account. So for the average American, the checking account is their main operating account. Okay. Now, let me tell you the difference. Just be what happens when you don't make your line of credit your main operating account. So let's say you have a huge line of credit available to you, $200,000, free and clear available to you, and you had a car emergency. So let's say we had an emergency and our car broke down and we got to repair it, and those things aren't cheap, right? So to repair it, it's not cheap. So let's say it's going to cost $5,000 to repair it, and the minimum payment to a home equity line of credit is usually $50. At least mine is, right? So, okay, well, let's do that. And guess what happens? Now we're in negative savings territory. Uh-oh, overdraft fees. Uh-oh, the bank's probably going to report us to check systems. If you don't know what it is, it's like the credit bureaus for banks and checking accounts. So now we become deadbeat territory, right? So we don't want to be here. We certainly don't want to be in the negative. So here's the thing: just because you have a line of credit available to you doesn't mean anything. You got to use it as your main operating account, and we'll see how to do that. Okay. So, velocity banking assumes two things. Number one, we have the same income, but even if you make more income, that's fantastic. But let's just assume we don't have more income. And here's the thing: I'm always striving for more income too, which is why I created this YouTube channel. I make about $300 to $500 a month, and I should probably get a $400 something dollar payout in I think 2 days or so. Right? I think 2 days or so I should get that payout. And all right, and so what we're going to do is show how we can increase something with our cash flow. Okay. Now here's the other thing too. So our cash flow is our income minus our expenses. Okay. And let me actually reset this. So zero savings, zero cash flow. You're just shuffling words, right? Some people think that. What's the difference between here and here? It's the exact same number, but we haven't finished the last step, which is to make our line of credit as our main operating account, right? And so what we do, again, this is kind of a tricky part because there's something called a debt payoff order and moving debts to our line of credit. But let's say we move these 10 credit cards into our home equity line of credit. That's $167,000. So let's move that here, okay? And what's the actual strategy, right? We're going to put our entire paycheck into, whoopsie, I messed this up, into our line of credit, and then we're going to take our expenses out of our line of credit. Okay? We're going to take our expenses out there. Now, what happens to our payments when we move them from the credit cards to the line of credit? Well, it's just like a balance transfer, right? Basically, these all get paid off. Okay? 0000. Whoopsie, not the last one, not the mortgage. And we see that we turned $0 into $5,345.83 of cash flow, right? Remember, with velocity banking, the opposite of velocity banking is not having savings, because our line of credit is going to be our new savings account, right? And so when we put our entire paycheck, this entire $9,000 into that line of credit, okay, the minimum monthly payment is taken care of, and also the interest is reduced. because the interest is calculated on the average daily balance. Oh my goodness, right? And how do we calculate how long it's going to take to pay off this line of credit? Well, what you do is you just add 1 to the month, J2 plus 1, right? And to calculate the next month's balance, it's the previous month's balance plus the previous month's interest minus whatever our cash flow number is. And the cash flow number right here is 5345.83. Okay? So now what we do is we take the average daily balance, right? And then we multiply it by the interest rate. This is 0.1, 10%. That's the usual for the line of credit. I've seen as low as 7%, 8.5 if it's from a credit union, but mine's from a regional bank. And then you divide by 12. Okay, and then now all you got to do is just copy and paste this. Copy and paste, okay? And then we go down here and we just keep going down, 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 and we see that in 37 months, it's all paid off. 37 months. Now, here's the thing. Some of you might be freaking out because if you told your friends and family, hey, I got no savings, like, your friends and family might freak out. I know my mom freaked out when I told her I have no savings. But you know what, Mom? Got a paid off mortgage, right? Because I'm applying all of my income to the debt. And so if you want to know what your actual savings is, it's your line of credit. So if I just go ahead and copy this, paste this formula, as I pay down the balance, then, if I have money that I need for emergencies, then I have this in my line of credit, right? So let's say I have a 5,000 or $3,000 emergency here. And because, something happened and then we go all the way down and we notice that, hey, I think the 37 months was the original payoff, right? So the time to pay off the debt is still the same. In fact, let me go ahead and highlight this so I can just kind of see if this is right. So let me go back here and take off the $3,000 emergency on month 1. And then we see, yes, 37 months of debt payoff. You see how easy that was? So we went from $0 of savings slash cash flow, doing it the average American way, to $5,345.83. And people are like, well, anybody could do this if they had a line of credit. But as I showed you, if you had a $3,000 emergency or $5,000 emergency with that minimum negative $50 payment, oh man, it's over. It's over because they didn't put you to check systems, right? So negative $50, and then now you're in a world of hurt, world of trouble. And believe it or not, when you're in that negative savings territory, you're in overdraft fee territory. And there was a report that in 2023, banks made $5 billion off of overdraft fees. $5 billion. Like, I want to make $5 billion off doing nothing, right? Just because you're a deadbeat with your finances. But if we're doing it the right way, we don't need any savings, but we're going to have something called cash flow, right? Our cash flow is going to be our debt terminator, our debt reducer, right? It's amazing. All right. Well, just another quick Velocity banking review. Again, I'm not going to go over the whole thing, so I'll just kind of switch off from one video of 10 credit cards to another video with more realistic debts. Today, we'll just go over 10 credit cards. And again, if you want to watch, okay, if you want to watch that live stream, make sure you join the YouTube channel. Again, at the end of the live stream, it was 1 hour and 30 minutes, and somebody had written, "This was a masterpiece," not my words, right? So if you want us to go, if you want to see the live stream replay, it's only 99 cents. Might be worth it, okay? All right, well, this is Korean Atlanta Mentorship. Have a great day, everybody. And in this video, just as a recap, we learned how to create cash flow out of thin air. Simple trick, right? Clickbait. All right, good night, everybody, and we'll speak next time.